Now, this was interesting. The vanishing at the Cecil Hotel drew me in from the off due to the fact that I remember seeing this video in the elevator of Elisa Lam a few years ago on social media. This 4-part documentary paints the story and leads you down multiple paths about the tragic story and true events of what happened to Elisa Lam in the Cecil Hotel. I won't really be reviewing the events of what happened, but I will be reviewing the documentary, its structure, and how well it told the story of what unfolded in the hotel. So, is this documentary worth watching? Well, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. So without further ado, I'm BrainPilot, and here is a review of Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers, so watch with caution. I don't even know where to start with this. This documentary takes you on a whirlwind of a journey, following the story of Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old girl, as she goes missing when traveling throughout the USA after stopping off at the Cecil Hotel. I thought this documentary was very well executed in terms of stylistic consistency and development. The theme, mood, and way that the story was told was compelling, and had me watching all 4 episodes one after the other, despite the fact it was gone midnight. This is what the documentary was designed to do, so I applaud it for that. There's one thing I wasn't a massive fan of, and that was the acted out filler scenes, due to the fact that I started to recognize the same ones happening, and felt there could have been a bit more variety. Whilst learning about the case of Elisa Lam, we went down multiple avenues. We would learn about Elisa Lam's past, the haunting history of the Cecil Hotel, the point of view from the workers and police officers, and a view from the web sleuth's perspective. The documentary is structured in a way that focuses heavily on the case, and leading you down the path of there being a murderer in the end. I feel from a stylistic point of view this was done deliberately, to provide more of an entertaining, gripping nature to the documentary. But this shone a light on the mindset of how the police and web sleuths were originally thinking the case would end, when in reality, in the words of the documentary, the fact there was no murderer made it a way more tragic story, due to the fact that it was down to Elisa's condition and her struggling with her mental health. The use of all of the similarities that were pointing to a cover-up and it being an inside job were extremely strange and uncanny, and I think that adds to the stylistic narrative that the documentary wanted to portray. But they do say if you look and search hard and long enough, there will always be similarities between many things, you just have to find them. I do also feel this show did a good job in highlighting that people do jump to conclusions, and do favour the more entertaining option and conspiracy-like narratives, due to the fact that it seems to be more plausible and a story that we are more used to seeing and have come to understand over time. We don't often think that somebody could have been struggling with their mental health when this story was unfolding. The documentary at points was extremely haunting to watch. When we were left to watch the full 4-minute clip of the elevator scene, it was so confusing and harrowing to see. I liked the fact that everything we would see was backed up and justified either by the police or the web sleuths, such as why the elevator was left open for so long, why the timestamp was muddled, and the different routes that Elisa would have taken to get onto the roof. I thought this was a great feature to the documentary, and I think the web sleuths are to thank for that. I thought hearing from the different parties' perspectives, such as the detectives and the web sleuths, was extremely interesting, because you could see just how much they were invested in solving the case and actually wanting the best for Elisa and her family. However, there was one person who I couldn't really stand in the documentary, and that was the hotel owner. I thought she was extremely inconsiderate and incompetent as a manager to be able to allow this to happen under her duty. Among many other things that happened whilst managing the hotel, she almost blamed everything on the fact that the Cecil Hotel had a reputation and that as an owner she wasn't to blame. Not at any point does she believe that she let her guests down by this tragic event, and all of the other bad rap that the hotel got whilst under her management. Some of her final words in the show being, "I believe she deserves another chance," when referring to the Cecil Hotel, I thought was absolutely ridiculous. She painted no emotion of the situation, and that frustrated me quite a lot when watching the show. Learning about the Cecil Hotel's past was something that I was actually astonished by. The fact that in today's day and age, and in the United States of America, there was this place that 1. Was still open, and 2. Contained all of these sadistic murderers from the past, along with awful people that committed crimes, was surprising to me. I was so intrigued about the hotel to the point where I'd actually be happy to watch an entire documentary just on the history of the Cecil. The documentary does a great job in teaching you about Elisa Lam and what her life was like, and how prominent her mental health issues were, albeit at the end when they had given up on there being a murder suspect. Elisa Lam almost constructed everything that the police were saying about her, due to how documented her life and thoughts were online on Tumblr. I feel that played a crucial part in truly understanding Elisa Lam, and helping the case and understanding her throughout the documentary. I'm glad they chose to include that throughout the show as well. One element of the show that I thought showed a dark side to not only the Cecil Hotel, but the dark side of humanity was when we saw the moments around the singer and how he was being accused of being the murderer, despite the fact that it was revealed that he was at the hotel a year prior to Elisa's disappearance. Hearing his encounters with the amount of people that were messaging him with the accusations, and also saying that they will bring harm to him if he ever goes back to LA, was awful to see and hear. He called out that once the case was solved, nobody ever apologized to him, and that these events have had a long-term impact on him, meaning that he attempted to take his life. He no longer writes music and will never be the same as what he was before. It showed that there was someone else that was damaged in this tragic story, and I'm glad this platform gave him the time to vocalize his point of view. The final episode, where we were shown exactly what happened to Elisa, it was devastating to hear. The fact that she got in the water tank to hide from her hallucinations and voices in her head, and essentially couldn't find a way out, was utterly heartbreaking. You could see the impact that the case had on the detectives and the sleuths. And I'm glad that the conspiracy murder hunt was stopped on the sleuth side and they accepted what happened, because there was a point where I felt they weren't going to accept it. The documentary paints the picture that Elisa Lam deserved better from the Cecil Hotel, and I would agree with that. They had a duty of care with the residents at the hotel, and unfortunately she was left on her own to fend for herself in her time of need. It's an extremely sad story. I think this documentary is definitely worth a watch. Although 4 hours, it really does keep your eyes glued to the screen. You learn about Elisa Lam, the history of the Cecil Hotel, and the tragic events that unfold. You'll be left feeling absolutely devastated and gutted for the individual, but also gobsmacked at the fact that the Cecil Hotel has been operating all of this time. So, there you have it. What I thought about Crime Scene, The Vanishing of Elisa Lam. What did you think? Do you agree with me? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.